My cruise has come to an end, but I wouldn't say sadly. How would I rate my first cruise experience? Well, from the get-go, I didn't have the best experience. I didn't end up with a wheelchair accessible room, and the room that I got was definitely not suitable for people with disabilities. I got a bit of a problem with my room, and it's not accessible. This is the tiniest bunk room that I've ever seen. And the bathroom is not usable at all. There's a step this big to get in, and then there's a bathtub with a step this big to get in. It is not fine. This is absolutely not fine. I'm so happy that the cruise company could organise an accessible room. I can roll into the bathroom. You got no idea how happy this makes me. And there's a sink that I can fit under. The accommodation is pretty good as long as you do have an accessible room. The rooms are spacious, they're easy to move around in a wheelchair. The bathroom facilities are really great as well. If you are booking a cruise, it's really important to be selective of the type of cruise you book. The cruise that I ended up on was full of families, kids screaming all the time. Next time that I go on a cruise, I'm probably going to select something more like an adults only cruise or a luxury cruise that is a bit more quiet and chilled out. It's definitely been hard to sleep with people screaming down the hallway at 2 a.m. The facilities of the boat are also pretty good. There's bars and restaurants and heaps of things to do. But things like the swimming pools and the spas are not accessible for people with disabilities. I've just done a full lap around the pool, and there is no wheelchair access or ramp access into the pool whatsoever. There's no ramps, and there's also no chairlifts to help people out of their wheelchair and into the pool. I was really disappointed at the activities available for people with disabilities at each of the ports. The worst one was definitely Tunisia. Having that there were 72 buses and none of them are accessible for people with disabilities was really disappointing. I had to book my own bus, which went to the same places as all the other tourists anyway. And instead of paying €50, I ended up having to pay €250 for exactly the same activities. I was really saddened to see that there were also people with disabilities on the non-accessible bus, and they really struggled. And I hope that MSC see this video and sort their shit out, because this is disgraceful. I'd love to see this cruise company step up the accessibility when it comes to these stops, so people with disabilities can not only enjoy the boat, but they can also go out and explore the destination and be included. Choosing what time of the year you go on a cruise is also very important. Here in Europe, I'm actually going on a cruise right in the middle of their summer holidays. So the boat is completely full. That means there's people everywhere all the time. So it can be really difficult finding some quiet spaces. Even just going to the buffet, it is so loud and so noisy. So if you struggle with loud noises and loud spaces, this cruise might not be for you. Getting around the ship was also pretty easy except for the carpet. I have no idea why they've got carpet absolutely everywhere throughout the boat. And the problem with carpet as well is hygiene. The carpet here was very dirty and very grimy. This is a pretty new ship, but it's already quickly showing signs of wear and tear. When booking a cruise, it's also important to think about the weather. It's currently about 36 degrees every day here in Europe. So it's very hot to be out on the deck and sunbaking. It might be ideal to look for weather around 28 to 32 degrees and try to book your cruise during the season or a time of the year that's a little bit more comfortable. How would I rate my first cruise experience? I rate my first cruise experience 2.5 out of 5 stars. If you've been on a cruise before, I'd love to know what your experience has been. And some cruises are definitely more accessible than others. So if you've got some tips and tricks to share, pop them in the comments below. Thank you for joining me on my first cruising adventure. And together, we can not only wheel around the world, we can cruise around the world too. Coming up. I booked a ticket.
Marseille shuttle bus, this one.
Is it wheelchair? It doesn't look wheelchair accessible.
Let me see.
So I booked and paid for a bus to take me into Marseille to the city centre. And I checked yesterday to see if it's accessible. There's 4 steps to get on.
Can you climb?
No.
Not at all.
No. So I can't.
No, I'm very sorry.